Jared looks like a lunch lady at a women's prison.
No, yeah. That's pretty funny.
You look like if Limp Bizjack was a Christian rock group and only sang about faith.
What is about my vibes putting up Christian shit?
I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I don't even know what it means, what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is, what it is. Hey, I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat. I'm unloading the meat. I'm loading the meat.
Oh no, I lost a wired headphone. If only I had a company like Raycon sponsoring today's episode. Raycon, I need headphones. Hey guys, welcome to Unloading Meat, episode 11, surprise bonus drop! Yeah, we want to get this episode out there as soon as possible. Today's guest is the one and only Brian Bizjack, the host of the Insult Attack show that's coming up this Friday, the 14th, at Renaissance Brewing Company. Brian was gracious enough to invite me back as a guest roaster or one of the participants, and I thought we would have him today, on this show to help promote it. So, guys, sit back, relax, enjoy my conversation with the one and only Brian Bizjack. And if you like it, make sure to please like, share, subscribe. Help me unload that meat. All right, guys, my next guest is the host of the Insult Attack show and one of the funniest comedians I've seen in the Tulsa area, man. Please give it up for Brian Bizjack. What's up, Brian?
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me on Unloading Meat, Jared.
Welcome to the show, man. I just gotta say, the Insult Attack show, I did it last month. That would be March by the time we film this and get this put out. One of the best shows I've done. And I know I haven't done that many, but I just want to say, man, I had a lot of fun the last time I did it. And I look forward to this April 14th when we get out the next one.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun, man. It was a great experience, great crowd. Renaissance Brewing Company was awesome. Great venue.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. We've always been doing it at Renaissance Brewing Company, and they originally had us back in their tank room where they do the actual brewing, which is a really cool space. But then back in like November of 2019, they got that side room all fixed up, and it's a very, very nice room. So we started doing it from that room at that point.
Yeah, it was just a great experience. I mean, I really liked the room. I liked the lighting of it. It was great for filming. I mean, it just all around, it was just a great venue. So yeah, I look forward to it. Guys, we're doing this bonus episode, getting it out. This will be out the week of the next Insult Attack. So April 14th, 8 p.m., right?
Yep.
8 p.m. Renaissance Brewing Company. Make sure you guys come out and support Tulsa comedy. That's why we're putting out this episode. And Brian is the host. Brian, again, it's a hilarious place. I can't wait to do it this Friday. Or yeah, when this comes out, it'll be this Friday.
Yeah, it should be a good time. We've done almost like 40 of these because we started January 2019. So it's been monthly, and then obviously we took some time off in 2020. But yeah, when I did the math a while back, I was like, oh my gosh, we've done almost 40 of these. And yeah, they're almost all of them have been a really good time. I mean, we've had some really wild ones that have just been an absolute blast. When that room gets full and the battles are exciting and people are just really hitting each other, it could be incredibly.
How long have you been doing comedy in total?
I'm this is my 4th year, so it's been about 4.5 years now of consistently doing comedy through open mics and doing shows and Insult Attacks. So when people ask how long I've been doing it, I tell them 4 years.
Nice. And then you also, I've seen you co-host the open mics at like the Hunt Club a couple times.
Yes, yeah. Sometimes I've been asked to help co-host Hunt Club in the past. I think I've co-hosted at Hunt Club open mic twice, which that's a really fun open mic. I really enjoy going to that one.
Yeah, I'm just so happy with the Tulsa scene exploding. Like it's like there's so many venues, there's so many things coming out right now, and it's great to see the support and the community kind of grow. And just seeing this massive explosion of talent that we're seeing in this area. I mean, that's honestly what launched this show, was me trying to figure out what this was going to be for a 1-person podcast and a 2-person podcast, and then it kind of exploded and turned into let's show and put a spotlight on Tulsa talent, and let's really just make sure that we can kind of get everybody in here and give them an hour and just kind of give them a spotlight and show everybody, the entertainers, the burlesque dancers, the comedians. There's so much talent in Tulsa, man. And I love that you're doing the roast section at the insult attack, because there's another section of that's just, I don't think anybody else is doing anything like what you guys are doing.
Yes, that's correct. We're the only roast show. Before I started Insult Attack, there were roast shows that would happen, but they weren't regularly scheduled. They were kind of sporadic, and I wanted to have something that was going to be monthly, and that anyone who wanted to do it could do it. The other shows you had to be invited or like know the person or whatever. So it seemed like not very many people were getting a chance to do it. So what I wanted to do with Insult Attack was create a monthly show where anyone who signs up can be a roaster. I'll let them go for it.
I like it, man. And the where am I going? The not the layout, but the way that you have it set up with the format with the judges and everything, and the revolving door of the guest judges and stuff like that. Just like I said, I can't talk enough. It's a fun night. And again, the next one, guys, will be April 14th at 8 p.m. Make sure you guys come out and support.
And it's free. It's free to come watch.
It's free and great beer and great drinks at the Renaissance Brewing Company.
They have some pretty great beer.
Who is going to be on the roster this the 14th, if you don't mind? I mean, I'm sure you got the list.
Yep. Yes, it's going to be Alex Horner, you, Rachel Rose, Sarah Buntain, and Zach Amon. So we may have a few more people, but it's probably those 5 are, I think, for sure going to be able to make it, and then maybe 1 or 2 others depending on what their availability is the week of.
And all of them have either been on or have already filmed or are booked for Unloading Meat too. So
okay.
So it's a great community we have here. I'm really happy that we're getting everybody on, and it's just cool. I love that this is all happening so fast. Not just on my side, but also like you guys have been doing your thing, and it's kind of neat seeing everybody's different projects kind of bloom and prosper.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff going on that people can be a part of, and the scene now is a lot more welcoming to newcomers.
Yeah.
Than I think it was in the past, at least when I was starting. And there are just more opportunities to get involved in lots of different mics, so you can find find mics that you prefer and do well at, and go to those. Whereas when I started, there were only 2 comedy open mics in Tulsa. That was it.
Yeah.
And there were only maybe like 2 monthly shows that you could get on, and so it was really tough to be a new comic back in like 2018, 2019 when I was starting out. So it's I feel like it's the scene's in a lot better place now than it was back then.
Like I've told the story on a couple of the older episodes. Like I tried open mics at the Looney Bin 15 years ago, and I did 2 shows, and I had a friend that was like booking people for the open mics and stuff like that. And long story short, he told me not to come back. They were offended by like a joke I did, and it was honestly just his story. It wasn't anything the Looney Bin did, and I didn't know that for 15 years. I thought I was banned, so I just gave up comedy. So at that time, that was the only spot in Tulsa was a Looney Bin. So if I thought I wasn't welcome there, I just gave up comedy.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until last year that I went out to an open mic that Katie Styles did, and just tried to see if I can get the jitters out and see if I still had it. And I had a lot of fun. And this year is where I've really just gone full bore into my comedy and just gone, no stepping back, no looking back. So yeah, it took 15 years, and like that change in the scene is drastic. Like going from just 1 mic and being, thinking you're banned from the city for a while, to now there's open mics everywhere. There's shows. There's so much talent here. And not only that, but the community's been super supportive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't thank Tulsa enough. It's been really supportive of me and the show.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons we actually had to move Insult Attack to the 14th, because April 7th had too many comedy shows. I think there were, if I would have, which that would have never been an issue in the past. If I would have kept it on the 7th, there would have been, I think, 4 comedy shows in one night, which is too many. So
again, sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, because my Insult Attack takes a lot of people, because I got to have 3 judges and then at least 5 roasters. So I got to have at least 8 people available just to put on the show. And I mean, so many people were saying, "Oh, I'm already on another show that night. Sorry, I'm on." So it's like, after a while, I was like, "Wait a minute, how many shows are there on this night?" I was like, "Okay, there are 3 already. I don't need to be the 4th."
Yeah, I did not even see that I was double booked for that night. I didn't even see the dates, and I was like, "Oh shit," because they had the like you said, the Fresh Faces of Comedy or whatever coming up that 7th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm grateful that you had it on the 14th, because there's, like you said, there's so many comics you have to get booked for your show. That So,
but that's kind of like why I started Insult Attack in a way, was to make it a big show that everyone could feel like they were a part of. People who are new to comedy, people who don't even do comedy. I mean, I've had people do Insult Attack who don't do stand up really at all, and they just did Insult Attack a few times and did great. And so that's why I wanted it to be like just a big open show that a lot of people could have fun and, you know, get their name on a poster and have like a fun like a real show atmosphere, and bring friends and family out to a fun comedy thing because I mean, from my experience, like I did open mics for almost 2 years before I got invited to do an actual show.
Yeah.
That's how few shows there were, and that's how hard it was to get on a show back when I was starting out. And I mean, and also, like, I was definitely not ready to do an actual show in 2018, so I'm glad I wasn't invited, because it very likely could have gone poorly and would have been not a fun experience. But
yeah,
I feel like that was one of the reasons I started Insult Attack, because I was like, if I don't start this myself, if there's only going to be 2 roast battle shows a year, I mean, what's the likelihood of me getting invited to do one? I'm just going to start this myself and get it going that way.
Props to you, man. Because it's paying off. I mean, hopefully for you, but I mean, as far as like just like what the crowd experience is, and like me, like I said, performer doing it, it's a fun show. It's a great concept, and yeah, I can't speak the praises of it enough. It's a great show.
Well, thank you. And it's kind of a way to give back to the scene, I feel like, because it's a way to create stage time for people and get people out there and get them interested in a different style of comedy. Because like you said, like there's normal stand up, and then there's roasting, and there's some similarities, but it is different. And roast battling, it's a whole different kind of thing. And yeah, this is I feel like it's one of the ways I give back to the scene, because I don't actually like get paid to do Insult Attack by anybody, even though some people have told me that I need to start doing it somewhere, or this place, or charging something. But I'm like, well, at the same time, I mean, Renaissance has been a great venue. They provide the speakers, the space. They give us a bunch of sample tickets that I can give the performers, so they can get their first beer for free. So I'm definitely not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for the Tulsa comedy community.
Sure, man. As you can see from my set and everything, like there's been some money put in this stuff, but like, you know, I'm not getting paid yet. Nothing's coming from this show yet. We're trying to just really push it and just try to get as many people we can on here and just give as many spotlights as we can to all the Tulsa performers. So like, I really appreciate that when people that put on their own shows and try to give back. I could kind of see the similarities of what I'm trying to do here, and you know, it's nice. It's just great to see the community growing and with great people. So props to you, man. If you had to say what's your best or biggest inspiration for comedy? Who's your favorite stand-up or favorite roast battler? If you had to say, who are some?
I watch a lot of different comedy. I was looking at the Bricktown Tulsa calendar. Lavelle Crawford's coming to town, I think.
Yes.
At the end of June. I really like. I wouldn't say I have like a favorite comic or anything, but there's definitely like a short list of people who, if they come to Tulsa, I'm absolutely going. Yeah, he's one of my favorites. Mark Norman's one of my favorites. I got to see Sam Morrell at Cane's a few months ago. He was great. Ronan Hirschberg. He was actually a judge at Insult Attack at Blue Whale. And then I got to see him do his set at Blue Whale, and it blew me away how funny it was, and just how many laughs per minute he could get out of the crowd. Like, I've never really seen anyone just like hit a crowd that hard that many times for that long. It was really incredible thing to see. He's definitely one of my favorites as well.
So you brought up Blue Whale. How many times have you done Blue Whale?
I've done it twice. So I did it back in 2019 as a stand-up performer. So I got to be on the local showcase that's part of the Blue Whale back then. And then last year I got asked to put on Insult Attack as part of Blue Whale. Okay. So we did an Insult Attack at Lowdown downtown as part of like a late night after party show on Friday night, which that was a fun one because we got to have some of the touring comics who were in town for Blue Whale be on the judges panel, which was fun. And doing it at Lowdown was interesting because I'd only ever done it at Renaissance. And the show was really successful. I mean, the tickets sold out for that show. Yeah, they sold individual tickets to it on, I guess, Eventbrite or whatever. And they sold over 100 tickets or so, and I mean they were turning people away at the door, and it was definitely the biggest crowd that's ever seen an insult attack.
Nice, man.
Mhm.
Congrats, by the way.
Thanks.
Like, it's just so cool to see. When I see comedians, and I have comedians on here that have been doing it longer than me, and honestly, most of the people that are on this show have been doing it longer than me. I'm still new to this scene. I try to take away just from the stories. It's nice, and it's inspiring to me personally to hear everybody's stories and how they've done their first shows or what shows they've done, and like hearing just the behind the scenes and like the jitters or just how you got through it, stuff like that. I love that. So again, it's just nice for every time I get a guest in here to really hear those experiences and hear where you guys have been.
Yeah, so the very first time I ever tried stand up was at the Gypsy Coffee House.
Okay.
This was back in like October. I think it was October 2017. So the very first time I ever thought about doing stand up was back when I lived in Houston, and I think it was like summer of 2016.
Okay.
And during that time, I was a stay-at-home dad. My daughter, my wife and I, we both tried working full-time and having our daughter in daycare. But she was getting sick a lot at daycare. And so after she turned 1, I quit my job and my wife worked full-time. And so I was just hanging out with my daughter all the time. And she would take a nap every day in the afternoon because she was only 1.
Yeah.
And I would just have like this block of time where I'd just kind of be hanging out. And then I kind of started like writing about and journaling kind of about my experiences, because my life changed so much because I went from having no kid and working full time to then working full time but having a kid, to not working and just focusing on the kid, being a stay-at-home dad. And it was an interesting experience because I was usually, a lot of times I would go to these kids things and I would be literally the only male there. It would all be like moms. In Houston, there are a lot of nannies who take care of the kids, which is kind of different. But yeah, it was kind of, I was going through kind of some life changes and seeing the world from an interesting perspective, a new perspective that I'd never seen it before. So I kind of tried writing some comedic material, and I thought about doing an open mic, and I wish I had gotten started then, because the Houston scenes, I was never a part of it, but it is a really great scene and they have some really great clubs there and whatnot. But I didn't actually get around to doing stand-up for the first time until I moved to Tulsa, and I really got inspired to finally go for it back in the summer of 2017, because I got to go to New York City for a work training. So I was in New York for like a week, and my wife and daughter were back home, so I would have quite a bit of free time in the evenings. So what I would do is I would go to the Comedy Cellar and just watch stand-up comedy shows, because I mean it was those shows at the Comedy Cellar are some of the best comedy shows in the entire world you can go to. I mean, just big name comedians, up and comers, just absolutely killing it. So I was spending a lot of time at the Comedy Cellar almost every night, going and watching all these comedians do it, and I was having so much fun watching the shows, and you could tell the performers were having so much fun doing it. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. I feel like I could pull this off. And then I also, at that time, was also kind of a blessing because I was going through training during the day. And some of these trainings were kind of things that I already knew or didn't really apply to my role. So I had some kind of like, I could kind of zone out and just kind of like write comedy material in my notebook for, a couple hours during the day while I was at these meetings, which was kind of funny because I would be like, there would be like a speaker or some sort of PowerPoint, and I would be like, people would see me like furiously taking notes on a pad of paper, and they're like, wow, you were really into that presentation. Like, whoa, man. I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually like, yeah, I was. Yeah, I got a lot out of it, when really I was writing I was writing like my first couple sets and jokes and stuff like that. And so then by the time I got back to Tulsa from that time in New York, I had like a notebook of some stuff. And then I felt really inspired to finally give it a shot. And yeah, the way I got over the nerves is I called up two of my cousins, was like, hey, you guys want to go get go to the Gypsy tonight and hang out? I didn't tell them I was going to do stand up until I went to, so I was like, yeah, I'll pick you guys up. And so I went and I picked him up, and then I told him what I was going to do. And I did that because I knew if I went there by myself, there was like a decent chance I would wimp out.
Yeah.
But I knew if I told my cousins what I was going to do and I took them with me, that I wouldn't want to look like a wimp. And I figured they would push me to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to the Gypsy. It was a mixed mic. I'm not sure if they even still do it, but they did back then. And so you could sign up. And so I signed up. And then they call my name and I go up there and the guy's like, okay, he tells me you've got 15 minutes.
Wow. 15
So
minutes for you starting out?
Yeah, I had no idea they would give you 15 minutes. So I was just like, I told him like, no, I'm going to do like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Definitely not doing 15. And so I kind of just like nervously read jokes directly off my phone for 5 minutes, and people smiled and laughed a little bit, and it went well enough that I thought, I'll give this a try again. And then I got more serious about going once a week to open mics starting at the beginning of 2018.
That's such a difference from, so like not my first experience because I was a loony bin 15 years ago, but like when I came back to comedy and tried to get see if I could still do it or still wanted to do it. Last year I did the open mic with Katie Styles, hosted at the Tulsa Comedy Club. She hosted one. And right before, I was one of the last 3 people that were on the list. Right before the last 3, she gets a note from the club and they go, hey, the last 3 people, we're gonna have to cut off a minute each. So you're only gonna get 4 minutes. Up next, Jared Ralphie Allen. And like, it's like literally like right before I have to go up, I have to cut a minute off. Like as I'm walking up, I'm like, oh shit. So like that was my first time coming back in 14 years of the time. And I still got through the 4 minutes. It was rough. It was rough as shit. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but at least I got the jitters out and I had a fun time. And it was a learning experience to always be prepared. So like now I have stuff in my notes just for like timing, and like I have my notes set for like each minute I can shave off. I don't know. I try to be like a little bit more cognizant about it, about what can be shaved, what can be trimmed, what can be expanded. So it was a great learning experience for my first time back. And it didn't stop me from coming back the following year and everything like that. That was in like December of last year. And then January is where I really launched Unloading Meat as just the production studio, the podcast and everything. And I've really just tried to just not stop since then. And I think you're going to be episode 11 now on the show.
Oh, okay.
So again, thanks for coming on. Yeah.
I had a similar thing happen to me recently at a show. I was originally contacted about doing 15 minutes. So I got all my 15 minutes set ready, and then I get there and they're like, okay, you're doing 10 minutes.
Ooh.
I was like, well, okay. So I had to kind of like really quickly like figure out what I should cut.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, luckily my sets, or most of my jokes are like 30 seconds. The longest joke is like maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So luckily I'm able to cut stuff pretty easily. But yeah, I've had that happen. And it's, when you're ready for, when you really dial it in and you're like, okay, I've got this amount of time ready to go. And then suddenly it changes. It can really like throw you off mentally.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago we had it happen at the Looney Bin. It was just because there were so many people that signed up. They're like, hey, there's so many people, we're gonna cut everybody to 4 minutes. And they told us well ahead, like we had 30 minutes to prepare and stuff like that. So it wasn't anything bad at all. But because of the previous experience I had from that one open mic, I was already ready. So like as soon as she said that, I was like, okay, cool. And I just went on my notes and I was like, click, 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 done. Like I just kind of knew where I could shape it. And that was just an open mic that I threw up out there. And honestly, I had a great set so much that I was like, you know what? F it. I'm just going to throw it up on YouTube and just put it out for a Blue Whale submission. Just have fun with it. I thought it was a good set. It had a good time. And I don't think you could even tell that it was shaved from 5 minutes to 4 minutes. It was just nice. It was comfortable, but I wouldn't have gotten that experience or that comfortability if it hadn't been from the thing that happened at Katie Styles open mic and being prepared for that. So yeah, I just love every time I go there trying to learn something.
Yeah.
It's all a learning experience. And we got to get those reps in.
I'm glad you're able to get a good video and submit it. I think, one thing that I think a lot of new comics, hopefully they know this, like, I guess the first step to like getting somewhere after once you start doing okay at open mics, the next thing you should focus on is getting a good 5-minute video.
Yeah.
Because then once you get the 5-minute video, then you could submit to festivals. You could even submit it to comedy clubs if you want to try and get into hosting at comedy clubs. That's an option. That's the first thing, other than the first thing you should try and do is fill 5 minutes where people are laughing consistently. And then once you get that down, it's time to film it. So then you have physical proof that you're someone that is trustworthy on stage.
Yeah.
Which matters. And yeah, and you can start getting to festivals and whatnot. And yeah, we haven't done there hasn't been a taping show in Tulsa in a while. It might actually be time to do that here pretty soon. I mean, I guess Blue Whale submissions end here in a couple months. So if people don't already have a video, they need to get on that. But yeah, in the past we'd there would be like once a year there would be like a taping show where everyone would know like, okay, we're gonna put a really nice camera in the back and we're gonna chop everyone's setup and email it. But you know, I never organized any of those. But that's something if someone is thinking about doing that now would be a good time to do it for people who don't have a video and want to submit to something like Blue Whale.
This episode of Unloading Meat is not brought to you by your favorite money-saving website like Honey. I guess that's what you would describe it as. I don't know. Mr. Beast just advertises the shit out of it all the time. I mean, I wish I had a discount on all this shit that I bought behind me. I'm broke as hell now buying all this shit. And I knew, you know, I do look like I eat a lot of honey. Piglet. Okay, what was I doing? If you guys are tired of these fake ads, make sure to reach out to your favorite sponsors, like Honey, and tell them to sponsor this fat ass Unloading Meat. Now, back to the show. So yeah, let's go through that. So like, what are some of your famous bombs that you had on stage?
I think the worst bomb that really sticks out in my mind. This one really hurt. So this was summer of 2020, which was one of the worst summers, probably in American history. They'll probably look back at it. So yeah, everyone was angry. I mean, like everything was shut down for the most part. I mean, there were protests people were angry about the police. People were angry about the pandemic. People were angry at the government. And nobody was able to really do comedy. It really shut down. And the first open mic that tried to come back was the First Shop, and they started doing it outdoors, because I don't know if you've been to the First Shop, but they do have a big stage outdoors.
I haven't been there yet. No.
Oh, okay. So yeah, First Shop, yeah, they have an indoor area where they used to have an open mic in there, and then they also have a big outdoor stage. And because this was the middle of the pandemic, 2020, people were still very concerned about COVID, so they started doing it outdoors. But nobody had really been practicing. So this was like July. And I mean, most people had stopped doing comedy in March of 2020. So everyone was rusty for 4 months and just kind of like, you don't know what's funny anymore. You don't know what's going on. The national mood is furious, or people are not happy. So they say, okay, we're going to start doing this outdoors, the First Shop. You can sign up. You have to sign up. We're only doing like 5 people. You got to bring your own microphone. So it's like I had to like borrow a microphone from a guy because I didn't want to like buy one, because I was like, I don't know if I was like, I'll just borrow one. Yeah. And so I get up there. So I've got my material, and like I haven't done comedy for 4 months. So I'm like really hungry to try and get back into it in one shape or another. So I'm all excited, like, oh, finally I get to get back on stage and see some of my friends who I haven't seen in like 4 months, people I was used to seeing, at least once a week, and getting back out there a little bit. So I arranged to borrow a microphone. I email the host, I get on the show, and I'm like, okay, I'll get up there and do it. And so I get out there, and they had a decent turnout. There were maybe like a couple tables of a dozen or so people, but doing comedy outdoors in the light people say that's the hardest possible situation to do comedy in. Like, you want a small dark room. So this was outdoors. The sun was still out. You want people to be close together. Everyone was spread out. I mean, people are wearing masks. People are feeling uncomfortable being around other people.
Social distancing.
Yeah, everyone is angry about everything going on
life
with
in
the
general,
economy and the police and the government and everything. And so I get up there and I'm so excited, and I just eat shit for 5 minutes. Like, people didn't laugh at like almost anything. And I mean, it was rough. I mean, it hurt. It hurt because I was so excited for it, and it went so poorly, and I had to talk to people to borrow a microphone and all this stuff. And then I think the worst part about it was that was like the only mic you could do. So like previously when I bombed, and I was bombing a lot in 2018 and 2019, like I would bomb and it hurt, but then I knew, oh, I'll just come back next week and maybe I'll do better next week.
Sure.
I'll put it behind me. But this, it's like the middle of the pandemic. They're like no mics. So like I bomb and then like I don't get to go on stage again for like months. So I just get to like sit in this, like thinking back, like the last time I did stand up, it sucked. And like, I didn't get to go back on stage again until probably at least a month or two later. So one of the things you might not know, and people who weren't doing comedy back then, is that there started to be these kind of like backyard front porch stand-up shows. Like Dustin DeVore hosted one at his house, or a couple of Zach Amon.
I had Zach on the show yesterday, and he was talking about his porch.
He was talking about the porch shows?
Yeah.
Those were actually a lot of fun. Like those were so much fun. Especially, I mean, during the pandemic, it was just so hard on everyone. And to be able to like just go over to someone's house and just joke around just felt so good. And the fact that he opened up the outside of his house. I never went inside his house during those times, but he put me on one of his porch shows. I think he may have had 3 or 4 of those, but it was just so much fun to go just watch those. And then I got to do one of the porch shows, and the porch show went a lot better than the outdoor open mic, mainly because it was a real show. It was at night. People were closer together. People were a little more chilled out at that point in the summer. People had kind of figured out ways to kind of deal with different pandemic restrictions and whatnot. And that was a lot of fun. So I definitely that was a really helpful thing that those guys did to help keep the comedy scene kind of still going during a time when very, very few people wanted to do indoor or anything. They allowed people to come to their houses, and it was fun to do those shows or go watch those shows. And then afterwards, it was just kind of a big hangout, fun party time in the backyard, which those were fun. Yeah.
I mean, I would rather take that than the open venue that you had from the way that it was. I mean, I'm sure the venue is great. It's just the way that the circumstances were.
Yeah. I think they may have done it one more time outdoors, but it was just like nobody, like almost nobody was getting laughs no matter what they did, just because it was just an awkward setup with everyone spread out outdoors with the sun still up. Yeah. It's really hard for you.
Not the ideal place for comedy.
No. I mean, it was definitely doing comedy on the hardest setting possible, basically. So yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they tried to get it going again. I'm really grateful for those guys who used to host Fur Shop and run that venue and that mic. That was a really fun time. That was the last time I really, really ate it.
My most famous or the infamous or the worst burn or what is it called?
Bomb.
Yeah, bomb. The worst bomb I ever had was a week before my first showcase in February. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try out some new material for the show. I'm gonna try out one of my stories and try to punch it up, and I'm gonna test it out at this open mic. And I wasn't confident in the material, wasn't confident in the story, first off. So I get up there and just completely eat shit. The story's not going well. And then in the middle of it, I think I'm offending people. Like I felt like this shift, like I wasn't getting laughs, and I suffer from depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. So about halfway through the story, I'm like, oh shit, am I offending people? And as soon as that popped into my head, panic attack happened. And I have it live on stage. I hand the mic to Roscoe. I run to the bathroom and throw up in the fucking cellar bathroom. Like it just hit me. And it wasn't anything about bombing or anything. It was just like that thought of like, am I offending people? And I wasn't. Nobody even remembered my fucking story or was set. And Roscoe was like, it wasn't even that bad. It just wasn't a good story. I was like, yeah, I understand. It needs some work. I walked in with no confidence, and that was my nail in the coffin in that story. And yeah, once I thought that I possibly was offending people with my joke or anything like that, immediately just tanked.
Yeah, that's one thing I kind of learned, at least about myself, when I started doing comedy, was that I started trying to do longer jokes and longer stories and stuff like that. And then, yeah, if they started going poorly, it would kind of like derail my whole set. So I've kind of like, as a coping mechanism, most of my stuff is like 30 seconds to a minute or so. Because if it goes poorly, and then I'm instantly shifting to something else. Because when I was first starting out, when I was first starting out, I would get like a minute into something and like no one's laughed at anything in a full minute, and I'm just like, oh no, this is that's yeah, I know that feeling, and it is not fun.
You know, I still had a good showcase the week after that. I forgot like a minute of my fucking shit halfway through, so I only did like 8.5 minutes, but I still had a good thing, and I don't think that the crowd noticed, and it was a good show. And again, learning experiences, man. You got to chalk it up and just learn from it.
Yeah, there is a storytelling scene in Tulsa. I don't know if you're aware. Like, okay, this group's called OK So, and they put on storytelling shows.
Okay.
So the whole show, it's not about comedy necessarily. It's just about storytelling. So that is something that, I mean, not all stories are funny, even good ones. So I mean, that could be a place for you to try out this story or other stories you may have, is to get involved with. Okay, so
because eventually I would love to get some stories going in my comedy. Just like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of great stand-ups that are great master storytellers. And I would love to inspire to be like that eventually. I'm not there, so it's something to strive for. But like you said, I kind of have dialed in my comedy more as far as laughs per minute and stuff like that, and just try to make sure that I'm covered to where I don't have so much invested in one section of my jokes that if it doesn't go well, my whole set's fucked.
Yeah. You don't want to risk it all on. Yeah, you don't want to plan a 5-minute story for a 5-minute open mic, and then you get 2 minutes into it and it's gone poorly, because then you have no, or if you better have a backup plan or completely cut it off. Which I have seen people completely cut stuff off before, which is kind of funny when they do that and acknowledge that it's not working. But it's at least from my perspective, I think it's for open mic sets, I'd recommend people try and do things in short chunks and try things out, and then if something worked, maybe expand on the stuff that worked, because you don't want to spend 4 minutes on something that's not working.
And also, I just gotta say, please, if anybody's thinking about trying open mics or doing something new, or trying comedy for the first time, doing these open mics, remember that an open mic is not a show. It's a place to try out new shit. I mean, well, within reason, there's gonna be rules and stuff like that, but like, have fun, try out the new shit. See if it works. If it doesn't work, it's a learning experience. But don't take it like it's like a be all end all. This is a fucking show at Madison Square Garden. Like,
I used to feel at the beginning when I first started doing comedy, I would get all worked up about it. But part of it is because, well, I started doing comedy at First Shop on Mondays, and back in 2018, and those guys did a really great job of making it feel like a real show. I mean, it felt like a big deal, because I mean, there would be 20 people would sign up for it, and then there would be like 20 people just watching, or maybe even more. I mean, they'd really fill the room, and the lighting felt like a real show, a real stage. So I mean, I would put a little, I would get pretty worked up about it back then. But now I have so much fun doing open mics, just because there's no pressure. It's just I don't get nervous about open mics anymore. I get nervous about shows, especially paid shows and shows that people are paying to watch. But open mics, that's just a time to practice, try new stuff, try out as many joke ideas as you can in 5 minutes. And just see what works, see what doesn't, riff a little bit, just get up there and focus on having a fun time and making people laugh.
Yeah, work on the energy, work on the laughs per minute, have great interaction with the crowd. I mean, just try to dial that shit in and have fun is what I try to do. And I try to go in there and not feel so much pressure on myself on these open mics as I used to when I'm still, like I said, I'm still fucking new, but like, I'm trying to go in there with a mindset now of like, have fun. Like, and I know for me personally, it's just, if I have fun, I think the audience is going to feel it. They're going to see it. They're going to see I'm having fun, and it's just going to make my set a little bit better for me personally.
Yeah, that's a huge part of stage presence, is the audience knowing that you're enjoying being up there as well, and you're feeling comfortable. Because if you start feeling uncomfortable, and they can pick up on that, and then they start feeling uncomfortable, and then it becomes kind of a weird thing unless you acknowledge it, and then you gotta get back into the groove.
And then you're halfway through the story, then you go and throw up in the bathroom.
Yeah, that can happen. But it's really important for people to get out there and do these open mics and really, really feel comfortable with their material, because nowadays you can get booked really quickly compared to back when I started, and you want to be ready. Like, you don't want to get booked. You don't, like, bombing an open mic is completely fine. I mean, that's what it's for. If you go up there and don't get a single laugh, or you only get a couple laughs, it's no big deal. It's the open mic. That's the time to to fail is fail there. It's like practice. You practice there. That way, when you get into a real game, which is like a show, if you screw up doing a real show, I mean, that's a much bigger deal and can kind of screw up the show and piss people off. But yeah, definitely recommend people. Yeah, I mean, you want to. I'm glad I didn't get booked. I'm glad I didn't get booked until I was almost 2 years in, because when I was finally booked, I was ready. So I had eaten. I'd gotten a lot of the bombing out of the way, and so I was ready to. I could go up with confidence and know that everything I was saying at that first show had been tested at multiple open mics.
Yeah.
So I could feel confident that it was almost certainly going to work out.
Are you going out tonight to Tulsa Comedy Club, or are you doing any open mics tonight?
I don't think. No, I'm not going to be able to make it out tonight, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, I did go out on Wednesday and did Hunt Club, followed by Starlight. So I've kind of chosen Wednesday night to be more of my night, because that way I can do 2 open mics back to back, which is a good way for me to get some good stage time and test out some new stuff twice in one night.
I'm trying to figure out my night. Like, it's like Mondays and Tuesdays I can't do because I just have my kids. So like Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then every other weekend I try to be out. I mean, in all honesty, if you really like this show, Unloading Meat, you will reach out to your favorite DoorDash or Uber Eats company and tell them to sponsor the show. Because it's kind of like a Mr. B situation where I spend so much fucking money on food being a fat ass that if they were to sponsor the show, somehow that money would go directly back into the show in a weird way. So yeah, get us a sponsorship. Now back to the show.
Fortunately, now there are open mics almost every night of the week for the most part. So you do have options, where in the past it was Monday. You want to go Monday or Wednesday one night, and then there was a Tuesday one, but that was a really tough one. So fortunately, we're blessed with a lot more open mics now.
We talked about it a little. We touched on it a little bit, but you had the show at the Canes, man.
Oh yeah, yep.
I just want to say personally, congrats, because like that was a master success, man. Like you guys did awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
that was great.
Talk about that experience a little bit.
Yes, so David Bates and Zach Amon put that one together. I think it was David's idea. I think he had been looking for a venue to put on a big show, and he was able to get in touch with Canes about doing a side stage show, and then Zach helped him organize that and book people on the show. And so they approached me about doing the show, and they're like, yeah, we're doing a show, Canes side stage. And I was like, whoa, okay. Because I think there had been some shows at Canes side stage. I think maybe in 2019, I think they'd done a few there, but there hadn't been. So it'd been quite a while since there had been a local comedy show at Canes side stage. So I was excited about the opportunity to maybe start bringing local comedy back to the Canes Ballroom, which is an incredible venue.
Yeah.
So they were like, yeah, you can do 15 minutes, and it's going to be a free show on a Friday night, and hopefully people will show up. And so I was thinking like, okay, great. I mean, I had seen people do comedy at Canes side stage as part of Blue Whale. Yeah. So I was familiar with the venue, and I knew it was good. It was a good room for comedy. Stages in the corner, and
nice. Okay.
It's in the corner, not like in the middle. So it's like it's kind of like a diamond shape, which I think is a pretty good setup for comedy. So I was excited to do that show, and I was thinking, I mean, it's a free show on a Friday. I'm going to be excited if we even get 100 people to come out to this thing. So I talked to my wife about it. We were able to get a babysitter for our daughter, and so she's able to come out with me. And so I show up to Canes. It's like doors at 7, show at 8. So I walk into Canes Ballroom at like 7:15, and it's already like half full.
Oh shit.
So there were already like 100 people in there at 7:15. So I was just like, whoa, okay. So this is gonna be big. Yeah. Like, this is for real. Like the best case scenario in my mind has already happened. So I mean, I'm like, okay, so this is for real. And so then I went to Empire Pizza next door to have some pizza with my wife. And so like, I'll come back in 30 minutes. So I go over there and have some pizza. And I come back at like 7:45 to meet with everyone who's performing. And at that point, there were over 200 people. I mean, there were like no more seats left at this point. So I'm like, okay, it's really filling up. And then the lineup, Garrett Barbie went first, and then I was going second. And while Garrett's performing, there are so many people in there. There are people on the back staircase. There are people in the hallway going to that leads to the bathroom.
Damn.
Like it's seriously like over capacity at that point. Like, yeah. So I think the final count was like 308 people came out.
Damn. Congrats, man.
And yeah, it was an awesome show. And yeah, huge props to David and Zach and the Canes Ballroom for help making that a success. And yeah, I really appreciate Rick Clement coming out and filming it. So I got a really good video out of it and really great pictures. So it was one of the best shows I've ever done. I mean, it's definitely it was the biggest show I've ever done in terms of sheer number of people.
Sure.
Because it was very full when I did my set. So I got to perform for the full 300, and yeah, it was definitely one of the best shows I've ever been a part of.
Congrats, man. Like, honestly, it's a huge milestone. It's a great achievement, especially, I mean, it's a great landmark achievement to also have in the Tulsa comedy scene too. Like, I mean, not just from the people that perform, but also people like me on the outside. It's just something to aspire to. It's a great thing. So congrats, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that show was a big success from the Canes Ballroom's perspective. I think obviously their whole goal is to bring people in and sell drinks. And I mean, the room was at maximum capacity and everybody was buying beers and whatnot. So yeah, I think Canes Ballroom definitely came out making some money on that show, which helps increase the possibility of more local Tulsa comedy events, hopefully at Canes Ballroom side stage, that more people can be on it. I mean, I got to do it, so I'm not planning on doing it for a while. So this, gives opportunities for more people to have that really awesome stage time in front of a big crowd at a historic venue.
Agreed. Yeah. Guys, I think it's time that we cut to the preheat.
The preheat.
And as always on the preheat, guys, if you want to send in your submissions and let me read your horrible roast jokes or trollish comments about my appearance, you can send them to unloadingmeat@gmail.com, subject preheat. The caveat being, you have to include a picture of yourself so that I can retort. So that way, if you want me to read those horrible comments, you're going to get it back. And I thought, since we're promoting Insult Attack and the upcoming show on April 14th at 8 p.m., I thought we should include some footage from the last time I did Insult Attack and kind of show you guys a little taste of what you can expect on April 14th. So, guys, enjoy a little bit of me and the other performers on last month's Insult Attack right now.
Jared looks like a lunch lady at a women's prison.
No, that's pretty funny. You look like if Limp Bizjack was a Christian rock group and only sang about faith.
What is about my vibe is putting up Christian shit?
All right, judges. I have to go with Alex on this one. I think he's the cutest.
It surprises me that it surprises you that people think you look like someone in a Christian band.
I need some feedback.
I forgot which one of you is which.
I think the most important thing is just that you guys had fun.
And we're back. Just like that. Movie magic. For us, it was nothing. Brian, where can everybody reach you at? Where can everybody find you at?
So the easiest way to get in touch with me is probably by looking up my name on Facebook. Just Brian. I'm on Facebook as Brian Biz. So BrianBiz. That's an easy way to get in touch with me.
Okay. And then we have Insult Attack, April 14th, right?
Yep, April 14th, Renaissance Brewery, 8 p.m. We start pretty promptly after 8 p.m. So yeah, feel free to show up a little early, have a beer, and then we usually get going I try and get it going about 8:05.
Okay. And then do you have any other shows coming up in May, or I'm sorry, in April?
Yes, in April, I'm going to be at Go Comedy Club in Broken Arrow. That's a Friday show on April 28th. And then I'm going to be at Mojitos on May 11th.
Nice.
That's a Thursday show. And then the next day after that, on May 12th, I'm going to be at Tulsa Comedy Club for a fundraising show that Hugo Willie's putting together.
Nice.
So I think it's either for his basketball team or maybe for like the women's football team. I'm not sure, but I know he's a basketball coach, so maybe like for youth basketball or something or some other cause. So he just contacted me about that today. So
Nice.
Yeah, so I've got some shows coming up, and then the May Insult Attack is probably going to be May 5th, possibly Cinco de Mayo. Or if that's not going to work, we might do it a different day. But yeah, the idea is to do Insult Attack every first Friday of the month, but we do sometimes have to adjust it.
Yeah, just for the competition, like how many people are booked, and like you said earlier, like how many people you have to book on your Insult Attack too.
Yeah.
Just the caveats and everything. But again, I think it's great that you work and you're one of the people that also works with other venues and other bookings and stuff like that and makes those adjustments because it's just better for the Tulsa community as a whole. Just me personally as a performer, it helped me out, gave me 2 shows, so thank you. So I always appreciate people that are willing to kind of bend a little bit because it helps out the community as a whole. So again, I'm very grateful for you.
Oh yeah, well, thank you, and I'm grateful. Fortunately, Renaissance Brewing Company was able to have that flexibility. So it's
thank them too.
Luckily,
Yeah,
luckily they have that availability, and we're willing to schedule on somewhat short notice because I'm sure, some venues are probably really hard asses about. Well, you said you would do it this night, and now you're not, and it becomes a whole thing. But yeah, they're very easygoing. Which is
man, thank you so much for being on the show. It really means a lot. I look forward to April 14th, the Insult Attack. I look forward to getting my ass roasted left and right by some great comedians. Anything else you want to add or share with my viewers?
No, that's about it. Just keep supporting local comedy. Thank you to everyone who comes out to the open mics, hosts shows, hosts mics, comes out to watch Insult Attack, comes out to be a roaster at Insult Attack. And if you ever want to be a roaster at Insult Attack, just send me a message or talk to me in person. I'd be happy to have anyone and everyone gets a chance at Insult Attack. If you want to do it, I'll let you go for it. That's how the show works.
Well, thank you, man. And again, thank you for being on Unloading Meat. Again, means a lot. Guys, this has been Brian Bizjack. I am Jared Ralphie Allen. Thank you so much. Take care.
Unloading the meat. 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 I don't even know what it means, what it is, what it is, what it is.
Bye. Have a great time.